Welcome, everyone. As you're joining us, we will get started in a few moments just to give a chance for everybody to join us. Hello, everyone. Glad to see everyone here. We're just going to give a few more minutes. We've got people trickling in from the waiting room, so we'll give it another minute or two. Glad to see you here. I love the thumbs up and emojis. It's so weird not to be able to see faces, so it's great to see you, your emojis, reactions. Just to give a disclaimer, it is evening time here. I know everyone is joining from different places, so it is evening time here. I'm sure I will say tonight multiple times or reference the time. So if you're at a different time zone, bear with me. I can't get all the time zones. All right. Well, I think we'll get started. Welcome, everyone. I just wanted to say thank you for joining us. My name is Heather McClellan Brandusa, and I am a member of the Early Math Project, joining you today. The Early Math Project team really just wants to welcome you for being here at the 2025 Early STEAM Fall Forum. Here is our schedule for this evening. We will begin with a keynote presentation from Jennifer McCrae. After Jennifer's keynote, we'll take a 10-minute break, and breakout sessions will begin at 7:10. We'll look at the breakout session options on the next slide, so don't worry about that. We'll come back together at 8:10 for closing remarks, the end of event survey, and certificates of participation. Okay, so here are our breakout sessions for this evening. There are 4 sessions that you can choose from. First is the joy of making together diverse approaches to family STEAM engagement and early childhood education. We also have engaging families, communities, and learning settings in math and STEAM. Enhancing early STEM engagement in libraries, a collaborative listening session to explore existing opportunities, identify gaps, and share resources. And we have collaborating with families to support children's learning. So please take a look at those and select whichever session that interests you most later when we get to that point in the evening. The sessions will be recorded and we will announce when they're available for viewing. So worry not if if it's hard to choose one session. We completely understand. Just pick the one that you'd like to listen in on this evening, and you can always watch ones that you had to miss at a later date. Okay, so certificates and surveys. Please take the survey at the end of the event this evening. The end of event survey is required for anyone who wants a certificate of participation for today's event. But even if you don't want a certificate, it really, really does help us to have your feedback. We use it to plan future events, so we really do appreciate you taking the survey and giving us your input. Once you submit the survey, you'll see a link that can be copied and pasted into your browser so you can access and download the certificate of participation. So you'll add your name to it, download it, and save it so you have it for your own records. And we'll share more about certificates in a moment. Now, I would like to share with you a new resource available from the California Department of Social Services. The California Infant Toddler Learning and Development Foundation's second edition has been recently released. This revised Infant Toddler Learning and Development Foundations represents part of the CDSS comprehensive effort to really strengthen young children's learning and development through high quality early care and education. The Infant Toddler Learning and Development Foundations describes the development infants and toddlers often attain during the birth to 3 age period. The second edition of the Infant Toddler Learning and Development Foundations was developed with input from providers and a broad range of interest holders, researchers, and early learning and education. And it has also been aligned with the California Preschool and Transitional Kindergarten Learning Foundations, or PTKLF. The foundations can be accessed on the CDSS publications page, and it's available in 4 languages. It's in English, Spanish, Simplified Chinese, and Traditional Chinese. So the link is on the slide, and we'll also drop the link in the chat so you can access this resource. Okay, I'm also happy to announce that Count Play Explorer has a new STEAM family engagement self-study module. The module focuses on why family engagement is important for young children's STEAM learning, reflects on an agency's existing family engagement in STEAM, and shares the Count Play Explore approach and identifies ways to build on an agency's current family engagement efforts. So the link for this is on the slide, and we'll also drop it in the chat as well, so you can access the site and the module to learn more. Okay, so additionally, Count Play Explorer has released a series of family science videos. You can find links to these as well as math packs and interactive exhibit guide and many other free resources in today's event swag. So next, these following resources that I am about to share with you have been created by the Early Math Project and Count Play Explore, and they can be found on countplayexplore.org. The link is on this slide, and we'll also drop the link in the chat for you. And so let's explore those resources. So first, this is about book guides. There's book guides with original activities are available on the Count Play Explore website. The book guides focus on playful ways to use children's literature to explore math and science with children from birth to age 8. The math guides are typically 4 to 5 pages long. The first 2 pages can stand alone as a complete guide, and then the final pages take a deeper dive into the math that's involved in the story. So, and our collection of science guides is also growing. These shorter guides provide activity and conversation ideas. As with the math guides, any related activities referenced in the guides use commonly available and low-cost materials, so they're really accessible to everyone. Many activities also work well in community STEM settings. These are very nice to check out. Book Buddies are also another newer resource. If you haven't seen these were developed specifically for libraries, but they can be used as a quick and easy resource for anyone. Each book buddy has an idea or suggestion that you can explore related to the concepts that are found in the book, and several questions designed to support math and science thinking with children. Okay, as I mentioned before, certificates of participation will be available at the end of the event. Please note that we don't collect workforce registry information or participate in the workforce registry. We don't keep copies of your certificates, so please make sure to keep a copy, save a copy for your own records. And now I will show you a short video that shows you how you can get your certificate at the end of the event. All right. Thank you so much for watching that short video with us. Hopefully that helped. We will go over certificates again at the end of the event, so fear not. If you need a refresher, we will talk about it right before it's time to do that survey. Lastly, before we move into our keynote, we would love to share that the Early Math Project publishes a monthly newsletter. So if you aren't already aware of this, we would love to stay in touch, let you know about upcoming events, and periodically share new resources. If you aren't already signed up for the Early Math Projects newsletter and would like to receive a monthly update, please let us know in the survey at the end of the event. And you can also scan the QR code on the screen or visit the link on the screen to sign up for the newsletter. Okay, now I would love to introduce our keynote speaker. We are honored to have Jennifer McCrae join us tonight. Jennifer McCrae is an associate research professor and the principal investigator of the Early Math Collaborative at Erickson Institute in Chicago. The collaborative provides professional development in mathematics to early childhood teachers nationally, conducts research on the teaching and learning of early math, and disseminates information through its books, journal publications, newsletter, and website. Jennifer is the first author of Growing Math Minds, which was published in 2018. Jennifer's presentation this evening will focus on authentically partnering with families around math in school and community settings. So please join me in welcoming her.
Thanks, Heather. Thanks, everybody. Hi. It's an honor to be here. I'm really excited. Okay, I am going to share my presentation. Is that working? I don't think that was working.
We could see your presentation if you want to share again.
Okay, thank you. Okay, are we good? Let me know if we're not good. I'm going to assume we're good. Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. And I'm really glad to be here. It's an honor to be here. And I was looking at the introductory slide with the graphic of the tree, and I love that rooted in relationships piece, right? I mean, it's certainly the theme. It's such an important one. And I really think we're going to enjoy talking tonight about the importance of connecting with families as an opportunity in math education, something that we can do to make all of this go better, make it go the way we want it to go. So I am introducing myself. I am from Erickson Institute. Erickson Institute was named after Erik Erikson, who was a developmental psychologist, wrote about sort of the stages of life. Erickson Institute is in Chicago, Illinois. It's a graduate school focused on child development. And everybody there studies children from birth to 8, and then they do lots of different things with it. So they've got a master's degree and they might do counseling, or they might go into law, or they might do research. Also at Erickson, people are doing professional development and research, and that's where we come in at the Early Math Collaborative, because that's mostly what we do. We're studying how to teach math well, and we're trying to help other people do it well, just like it seems like all of you guys are at the math project. So I think we have a couple of polls set up. What I'd like to do is do the first poll so I can learn a little bit about who is in the room. Not that it's a room, but I would like to get a sense of who's here. So if my backstage colleagues can help to do that poll, I would be very grateful. Oh, this is good. Lots of infantile, okay, pre-K, some elementary, some educational specialists. That's fabulous. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was great. Okay, and then I think I have one other poll that I'm going to do. This is where I would like you to pick A, B, C, or D. Which image best evokes your personal relationship with math? Be honest here, okay? It's important that we start with that, right? We've got some A's, so it's a party for some of you. We've got a good number of B's, and it looks like, B is common, and she looks pretty miserable, right? Good for you. Thanks for speaking up. We have to own our math. We all have to own our math. C, okay, like climbing a mountain kind of thing, right? I mean, she looks pretty positive, but boy, it looks like hard work. And D, we've got a few people who I don't know what that means. If you identify with that, maybe it just feels like art to you. It's just like dancing to do math. That's what I would hope. Thank you for responding to that. I guess the point here is that we all have some kind of an emotional relationship with math. And if we are educators and we're interested in math and we're interested in families, then it's really important to acknowledge those relationships and sort of be aware of them as we go on. So here are our goals for today. I'm just going to remind you, I'm going to put some things on the table that okay? But I'm going to refresh your understanding of the role of math in education and in equity. I'm going to spend some time talking about how math is challenged, right, as a topic and how it's challenging, the things that get in the way and make it difficult sometimes. And then we will turn our attention to the roles that family can play in math education. And that'll be the hopeful part, right? So, math is important, math is challenged, but here's what families can do. And we'll talk about some specific kinds of examples of things that people are doing out there, ways that people are doing community-based things, school-sponsored things, and things in their own classrooms to try to sort of activate families and their love of math to help children learn math and enjoy it and claim it for themselves. So we're on the refresher. Why does math matter? These are some findings from the early childhood longitudinal data set, which is nationally representative sample, very, very large. And what they do is they assess children longitudinally. So they've got them at kindergarten entry, they've got them at third grade, and they've got them at eighth grade. And I'm going to talk to you about reading and reading achievement and math achievement. So not surprisingly, you can assess reading skills at kindergarten entry, and that strongly predicts later reading achievement at both third grade and eighth grade. Makes sense. It's also true with math skills, right? Kindergarten entry, so kids have been in preschool, but that's it. They come into kindergarten, they assess their math school skills, and that is going to predict their math achievement in both third grade and eighth grade. But the interesting thing is that the early math skills also predict later reading achievement. This is just a prediction, okay? It's not causal evidence. We don't know that having better early math skills causes you to read better later, okay? But what we do see is that these things co-occur. That's what correlation means. And the thing is, you can't predict later math achievement from early reading. It doesn't work the other way. I can't do another arrow that goes from the upper left to the lower right because early reading isn't predictive of later math. And we're not really sure why. Like I said, it's not causal, so all we can really do is theorize. But it makes sense, I think, that math is a logical language. It's a way of thinking. And when you assess early math, you're tending to get at some of those things, some of those ways of thinking logically and being able to handle precision, to be somewhat analytical. When you assess early reading, it's a different thing. You might be assessing recognition of numbers or the ability to tell a story. They're different sets of things. They matter differently. we know that early math is highly predictive of a lot of later school success. And that makes sense to me. And it makes sense then that we ought to pay attention to it. Here's another bit of data. We can look at these items across first grade, seventh grade, high school, and adulthood, right? Number system knowledge at first grade. So first year, you're 6 years old. What's your number system knowledge? That's predictive of your functional numeracy in seventh grade, which is predictive of your retention rate in high school, and that predicts employability and wages. This is one of those powerful arguments that, people who are concerned about, STEM and the workforce like to hear. But it does matter beyond that, right? It's not just about, government and economy. I mean, employability and wages goes to personal experience. It goes to livelihood. It goes to the opportunity to enjoy your life and have control over things. So more evidence that it matters. And in fact, Bob Moses, who passed away recently, he was the director and the inventor, the founder of the Algebra Project. He was very clear that his sense was math mattered in terms of economic access and full citizenship. That in fact, the challenge facing children of color, and people of color was mostly about this access. Like if we can get math going in people's lives, in more people's lives, right, and have them feeling like it's theirs and they can use it, that would be something, a lever that would help to create access to jobs, to opportunity, to the joy of math, to all of those things. We also see with some recent data that there is an achievement gap between the students in the highest and lowest percentiles, right? So when you do the math achievement scores, you've got, people in the high percentiles are up here and the low percentiles are down here. What's the size of that? Well, what's been happening since 2020 to 2022 and now 2023, that's the latest data that I had, it's getting wider and wider. So that just is, to me, a mirror of kind of the economic situation in our country, right? The haves and the have-nots are so much further apart than they once were. So this is a concern. This is definitely a concern. Here's another fact. Eighth grade students reporting high levels of interest and enjoyment in mathematics, not nearly as much as fourth graders, right? In fourth grade, you might get, some percentage of students who say, yes, I like math or I enjoy it. By eighth grade, it's down. It's down. White and Asian students report the highest levels of confidence. Black and Hispanic students show substantial declines in confidence. Okay, so it's not just that it's a bad situation, it's a bad situation getting worse, right? So there's no time like the present for acting on this. So let's talk about cause. What is causing all of these math challenges for us? Why is it so hard for us to get a handle on this? Because certainly we're trying. Well, let's start with that classic cocktail party conversation. The beautiful young people are here, they're having a nice time. And this guy says, I'm just not a math person. I'm sure that many of us in this webinar have said something like that, right? It's very, very common in our culture to think that, yeah, there are people who are math people and there are people who are not math people. And my problem with that is that if you're just not a math person, it kind of lets you off the hook. I can't do anything about it. I'm just not a math person. That's not helpful, right? We need to learn, we need to teach ourselves to stop letting people off the hook, okay? We're all math people. And just to help you, I mean, maybe you've already heard of this, but what if this woman then just said, I'm just not a reading person? I mean, that's not polite cocktail party conversation. People don't just say that. So we have this weird thing in our culture about math and how it's for some people and not for other people. And as we've just been talking about, that's really problematic, right? It's really problematic from the standpoint of education and equity. Oh, yeah, okay, I forgot about this. So I went to look for, I had an old picture of a t-shirt that says, I'm too pretty to do math. And I thought, maybe they aren't out there anymore. I shouldn't just assume that those t-shirts are still available. So I did a little search, and this was the first one I found. And it looks like it's, for a baby, right? I'm too pretty to do math. And I thought, well, maybe they're just, maybe it's for babies, but I can't find anything for adults or for older, women or girls or whoever who's feeling pretty. But no, there are adult size t-shirts that are black and have little lipsticks on them and say I'm too pretty to do math. So that trend is still out there. Because I just found it. It's also true, however, encouragingly, that I found this, how to be a math person. Step one, do math, and step two, be a person. And I think this is a good sign. I really do. This was not out there. It wasn't out there 10 years ago. So I think that there are the little rumblings of changes in our thinking, and maybe our culture is beginning to kind of wake up. So let's take that as a hopeful sign. So that was one reason, right? We were talking about what are the challenges? Why is it hard to do math education well and successfully? And we were talking about this sort of cultural things, right? This, I'm not a math person, and math doesn't fit with being pretty, or all those things, right? But then there's this other piece, which is perhaps a little more complex and a little more personal. Math anxiety is a real thing. Um, Feelings of apprehension and increased physiological reactivity when individuals deal with math. Okay, it's a thing that happens. There are physical symptoms, increased heart rate, clammy hands, upset stomach. There are neurological correlates. The fear and pain networks in the brain are activated when people experience math anxiety and say that they do. Okay, so it's not some imaginary thing. We can find it, and it has these impacts at different levels, right? So first of all, if you're math anxious right in the moment, it means that your working memory is all messed up, and you're not going to be able to hold one thing in your head while you think about another, which is a big part of doing math. So in that sort of immediate sense, when you are anxious, it can make it so that you can't think well mathematically. Okay. Not fair. I know. And then learning behaviors. So over time, you become someone who puts off math or tries to avoid it, doesn't want to do it, because you have these bad associations with it. That's really, really bad, right? That the learning behaviors come into play. That's hard to unlearn that stuff. And then finally, we get to life choices, avoiding science and math and engineering. I mean, math is the language of science. Without math, you really can't do those things. So math anxiety has this effect on people at all these levels and in all these ways. And in 2009, anyway, in a survey, we heard that 93% of adult US Americans experience some level of math anxiety. 93%. Seems really high to me, but I'll also say that, I talk about math a lot, and I often ask an audience, to tell me how many of them have some memory of some educational moment around math that was really challenging for them. It's always more than half the room. Always more than half the rooms that they've had some experience that they remember now when they were younger, Perhaps it was shaming. Some bad educational experience associated with math. So, there's a lot to do here, right? And then there's this. Why else is math learning so challenging? Well, I would say that teaching math well is not easy. I think teaching math with understanding is challenging. And it's not a very popular thing to say because we're trying to get everybody to like math, right? So you just say, oh, it's easy. No, actually, people learn math in different ways. And what we need are teachers who understand the math really well and understand how children develop their understanding of math, how they build their cognitive machine for math thinking, in what order things might happen, and different ways to help them do that because people learn math differently. So if you're a math teacher and you know one way to do something and that's it, that's probably not going to be helpful enough, right, for all of your students. We need really well-prepared math teachers, and we need them at the elementary level, not just, junior high and high school where people are specialists. And I don't have an easy answer for that except to, keep preaching, I guess. So what I want to do is give you an example of how and why teaching math is not easy. And I want to talk about, something that most of us would consider somewhat simple, counting, right? It's an early thing that children learn to do. And most people would say if a child can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that they know how to count to 6, right? In our culture, that's how we talk about it. Oh, he can count to 100. Well, he can probably say the words to 100, which is the first of these principles that I've written down here, these 5 counting principles. Stable order is the understanding that you have to say those same words in the same order every time in order for the procedure to work, right? But there are 4 other principles that are part of a mature counter's understanding of how the system works. One-to-one correspondence. Each and every item in the set to be counted must be counted once and only once. Okay, so it's the pairing of the words with the objects that makes the words work. And then there's cardinality. Sometimes you can ask a child to count something and they'll say 1, 2, 3. You say, how many is that altogether? And they say 1, 2, 3. And what you're looking for is for them to say 3 fingers. There's a total, right? There's the counting procedure with the tagging, and then there's the naming of the total amount. And that's the cardinal understanding. And kids have to connect those things, right? They have to get the 3-ness of 3 and understand that the counting procedure helps them get there. So that's enough of that. But let's look at a video of a young child who is learning about counting. And let's think about what he's trying to do.
How many blocks are on the mat?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Are you sure?
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4.
You moved one of the blocks. You can move them if you want. Do you want to move them? So how many altogether?
1, 2, 3.
How many altogether?
1, 2, 3.
So there are how many blocks on your mat?
3.
3 blocks, right. How many are there now if I put some more out?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, so I just wanted you to see that after thinking with me about how there are these principles, right? This little boy has got so much knowledge that he's bringing to the situation. He knows the counting words. He understands that he's supposed to point. And when he decided to move things around, the person sitting across from him helped him out and said, yeah, go ahead, move that stuff around. And it helped him to get the one-to-one. He was even able to get to cardinal amount and say that there were three without having to just respond to her question by saying 1, 2, 3 again, right? And then he was able to count a set of 6 accurately. We don't know if he would have said that there were a total of 6 because we didn't get that far. But it just goes to show you that the layperson's understanding of math is sometimes not enough because children learn math differently and because we need to prevent math anxiety, right? We need teachers who have multiple strategies up their sleeve, who really understand how the ideas connect to one another and how they develop. Anyway, enough of that. Enough of the problems, right? Let's talk about something a little bit more hopeful, which is the point that we're here today to talk about family math as an opportunity for us, an opportunity for educators to shift the dialogue and make things a little different around math learning and math education. This is a slide that sort of advertises the Center for Family Math, which is an organization that we partner with at Erickson. We're their lead partner. They've been around for about 4 years. And I'm telling you about them because they're a resource. They're part of NAFSCE, the National Association for Family, School, and Community Engagement. So this big national organization that focuses on family engagement is now running a center for family math. And their whole point is, how do we use family math as an idea to make the world a better place in terms of math learning and use? Okay, math advances learning and equity for each and every child, as their vision says. So I want to tell you about how they and we define what family math is to start, right? The first thing is family math is social, cultural, and community based. Okay, it is not a solo experience with a worksheet, or it's not a quiet test taking or going up to the board with a piece of chalk. It's about math that is embedded in life. It might be embedded in an arts and crafts project or some cooking, maybe a game, sports, and homework. It's any situation where people are doing math and family members are together. And because people are together and it's social and cultural and community-based, it brings all the stuff that families brings, right? It might bring their language, it might bring their heritage, it might bring the kinds of foods they eat and the experiences that they have. Family math is rich in that way, okay? Let's look at one example of some really great family math happening. I don't know why this isn't working. It worked earlier today. Let's see here. Well, I'm just going to tell you, this is a great video, and I will make sure that it's available to you somehow. I'll send it to you, or I'll do something, because it's wonderful. The mom and daughter are speaking Gujarati in their home, and they are putting away the silverware. And what happens is, as they're sorting things out, and sorting, of course, is mathematical, right? It's analytical, it's logical, it's creating categories and groups. But they start talking about the daddy spoons and the baby spoons. And so size comes in, right? And this is just a mom who is taking the time, is being patient, right? Because it's, if she really just wanted to get this done, she'd just do it herself. Right? That's much more effective. But at this moment, she's got the brain space to engage it with her child. And because of that, and because they're talking about it together, it becomes this fun learning moment, an association with something that's real, that matters. It matters where the forks go, right? This is part of her life. Yeah, so I will make sure you get a chance to see that somehow. I'm sorry that it didn't work. Another point about family math, not just cultural and, embedded in community, we know that it actively supports children's learning and development. I'm going to just point out 3 different ways that we know that family math can make a difference. One is activities at home. So if children, if their parents engage in frequent home-based math activities, right, whatever that is, it makes a difference in terms of math assessments, a big difference, okay? We see it. And so it's math assessments at school, right? It's not just that you get better at math at home. Doing math at home with family actually has an impact on how you do math at school, okay? And then there are parental expectations. When parents expect their children to attend college, their students were 2 times more likely to take advanced math courses. And that predicts higher math achievement and persistence and all these other things, right? So expectations, home activities, expectations, and then finally, school-home relationships. When educators actively build relationships with families around learning, children's math scores are improved. We know that all of these little things, parents doing the stuff at home, parents having the expectations, and educators reaching out to help build those homeschool relationships, all those things can activate family math and make a difference in terms of children's feelings about math and their understanding of it. Family math changes over time. And I say this because, what families can do to help their children to enjoy math and feel good about it and learn it is different depending on what the children are learning about. In infancy and early childhood, it's mostly all that stuff that's really, really embedded, right? So putting the spoons away in the right spot, or counting how many steps lead up to the porch on your house, cooking together, doing art projects, just talking about the math, helping children to see how math is connected to their lives in ways that they can understand, ways that are meaningful to them. So in infancy and early childhood, that's really what it's about, just recognizing the math that's in your life and talking about it. As kids move into elementary school, it can become important to maintain confidence and a positive attitude. As adults, if we can learn to stop somehow ourselves from saying, I'm just not a math person, or, well, not everybody's good at math, or that's okay, you can be good at reading, you know, all those things, right? We need to shift our mindset and, help our children imagine that math is for them, that they can have access to math. And we need that to continue through elementary school. And the other thing that I think during elementary school, parents can really do, or families can really do, is play games. Lots and lots of math games. Math games are fabulous because they provide practice and they're fun and joyful. This is when homework starts, right? And so what's going to happen is kids are going to come home with math, and the math is going to be different than what the parents learned. And the parents aren't going to know how to help because it's some new approach or some different thing. Well, that's okay. And, families can learn more about the math and the way it's taught at school. That's one thing, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. But I think more important is attitude, positivity, confidence, and helping children develop a little bit of an ability to tolerate the frustration that can sometimes come when a problem is challenging, right? How do we build that kind of frustration tolerance in our children? And then finally, when kids are in high school, expectations are huge. That's it. Just you can do this. We can, and we can get help, and there's another way. Let's think about it again. Helping them access resources and just being a supporter. Because having said that math is not easy to teach, I'm not going to tell you that I think families should be teaching math, right? There's stuff going on at school and kids need to try to engage that. And hopefully the math teaching is going to be rich and diverse and there's going to be a way for them to get in there. But in the meantime, the way that families can help shifts as children develop. And the Center for Family Math has these developmental briefs. I've got a QR code here, and there's going to be more links later that you can use. But these are just helpful things about, what's happening with math at these different stages in children's lives and how families can be helpful. And then finally, um, I'd like to say family math is a shared responsibility, meaning it's not just on families, right? So the idea is families need to maintain those high expectations, engage in talking about math and doing math. They need to advocate for connecting to math in the community, right? Making math a part of their lives in a rich and engaging way. But we also need practitioners to do things. We need people who are working with families and children to open doors to families and ensure access to resources and ideas. We have so many families that had their own negative experience of school. So having educators who go the extra mile to invite those families back in, to find a way to make them feel safe and connected. And safe is a big word, right? With all the things going on in our country right now, there are a lot of families that don't feel safe right now. So finding ways to really extend that welcome and make clear that families are part of their child's education and we want them around at school. And elevating and expanding the math that families do, right? When educators say, hey, putting spoons away from the dishwasher is this really cool mathy thing, it kind of gives credibility to that, right? It's a way, again, to sort of leverage the joy and the competence and the confidence piece around math. So let's elevate the fact that families are already doing math. They're doing a ton of math at home. Everyone's doing math. How do you be a math person? You do math and you be a person, right? Families are doing that. So, and then finally, practitioners can really help build relationships around math in the community. Okay, I need to move on. So I'm sorry that it's taking a long time. Center for Family Math has developed these family math core competencies. I'm going to tell you just a little bit about them. They went through a process involving a literature review and some interviews, but the idea is that if you are an educator, you have to start by reflecting. You have to look at your own feelings about math before you're going to be able to help families. And then you need to connect, right? So family math educators open doors to families and engage in math with their children. Meeting the families where they are is important, making math approachable and fun. Collaborating with families, so actually partnering, right? Actually engaging with them, co-creating resources with families and communicating that math progress. And then institutional commitments, right? So family math isn't just going to happen because one creative teacher is trying all on her own. It's so much better when there's a school-wide effort or, part of someone's job becomes thinking about family math to help make these things happen. So we're going to talk about these different types of family engagement approaches that are out there. People are doing things. Math Talk is one example of a not-for-profit that has created these installations in parks, places where families can come and enjoy math together. They actually use a virtual reality piece and connect. There are, and you just saw there were library resources, right? For the Early Math Project has them. Lots of ways to use story time in the library as a way to connect to families around math and have fun. And of course, math happens in all these places, but there are also organizations that are doing things like putting special messages on grocery carts so that parents have some ideas for things they can talk about with their kids while they're in the grocery store, or helping pediatricians or nurses learn how to talk about math a little bit with families and children. So those things are happening. And by going to the Center for Family Math, you'll find out more about who's doing that. This is a case study. In Philadelphia, there is a lovely woman named Jessica Tilley, who is their director of mathematics. She did some enormous work, and I'm not going to have time to go into a lot of detail about it. But essentially, they started a new curriculum, illustrative mathematics, and along with that, they made this huge effort to connect to families. They built their own website. They did all of these. This is a framework for thinking about how to involve families in math. So promoting positive identities, active roles for all community members, and keeping it culturally relevant, right? These are all things that they did. I am sorry that there's so much, but look at this. They had a family math engagement committee, network and school-driven family math partnerships, virtual family sessions. They were offering webinars for families, okay, which is really cool. They offered a family math events guide, resources for professional learning. There was teacher training. Hello, wonderful. And a community practice for school leaders. I mean, they did all of these things around family math, and it's making a difference in their scores. And I put this one here. If you get a chance to look at the slides later, these descriptions are really powerful for how they were helping families think about math and learn about math. I'm going to have you watch this.
As a school leader, we always want parents to be in our school. Parents are the first teachers of children, and the teachers are proud to show what they've been doing and to actually partner with parents.
I did see parents realize how simple it is to engage with their kids in numbers. I think they think of math and they immediately assume they can't do much with their kid, but I think doing something as simple as a path game and letting them roll the dice and they count with their kids in English or Spanish, I think they realize how easy it can be to do math with their kids.
I just loved how the parents were so involved with the kids and just interested to know what they could do at home with them.
With math, we want the kids to be learning math at home as well as learning math in school.
I tell parents to use their native language at home. In our case, it's mostly Spanish, and I say that's the best thing you could do for your child is use your Spanish at home. That's their relationship with their child, and we wouldn't want to change that.
It's really important that the kids practice math in Spanish because for some of them it's the first language, and also they can have a better understanding and better communication with the parents.
I noticed that the parents enjoyed being able to sit there working one-on-one with their kids.
Compartir con los niños lo que ellos están aprendiendo.
All the activities are exciting for them and they like to play, so that's the way to learn is to play.
Pues yo creo que en todas. Vamos a tratar de hacer todas. Les gusta cantar, lo que es cantar les gusta contar, brincar. Creo que vamos a tratar de hacer todo.
The more we interact with our kids, the more we expose them to numbers and words and pictures and experiences, the better their children are going to be able to learn at school and accomplish things in life.
And math it's not as hard as you think it is. So maybe math is easy because it's everywhere. And it's just how you're talking to children.
Talking about colors, shapes, numbers.
Math is everywhere, and it's easy, and it's fun. And
you never realize how much math is brought into the daily world.
Something like this was just a real special treat. The kids were just very excited that their mom and dad were here.
Okay, so that's just a good example of a school doing a family math night and making it really fun. A little bit about family math nights or things like them. You want activities that are easy to learn and repeat, that they're good for children and parents to do together, and they can accommodate children of different ages and understandings, because when families come, they bring siblings, right? it's also important to think about games for the event itself, like those large scale games where kids are using their bodies, but also games that families can take home can be seriously helpful, right? If you've got something that they can learn while they're there, learn to play a new card game and send them home with a deck of cards that's designed for that. And maybe a set of, really simple instructions. There are all kinds of resources set up for that out there. And I want to make you aware of this group called the Julia Robinson Math Festival. They're a not-for-profit, and everything they offer a ton of stuff for free. You also can purchase like some kind of a kit that will help you set up a family math night, but they offer a lot of things for free. Lots of ideas for how to engage families in math together, and I highly recommend their work. One more video, you'll see why a math game is so fun.
1, 2, 3.
I get to capture them.
Why? How do you know?
Because I have 4.
You have 4, and what do I have?
2.
4 is more than 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
What is that?
What is that?
I have a 5. You had a 1 because there's only one hand.
There's one hand, but you know what we're counting on this hand?
Mm-mm. 5.
So there's 5 fingers and 5 dots. What does that mean? Who has more?
We both tied.
We tied, right? It's the same. So that means we have to flip again, and we're going to put them on top of this because they're the same. So nobody wins, right? You don't have more, and I don't have more.
So
we're both the same. So now this one is going to tell us who gets all of these cards. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ooh, now who wins? You. How do you know?
Okay.
1.
That's enough of that. There are a lot of benefits to math games, and math games is a great way to connect with families and, something that you can send home. You want a game that has opportunities for open-ended conversation, various ages, and you want it to be fun. So, this is a link to our website. We have a lot of resources. Some of them are not as much about family math. They're about other things related to early math. But we do have a lot of family math resources. And that QR code will especially get you to some of those. And then here is a list of a lot of the resources that I mentioned. So we've got links to the Center for Family Math, the Julia Robinson Math Festival, bedtime math. We didn't talk about that, but Math Talk. If you go to the Center for Family Math website, you'll find a lot of links to other resources there. And I do highly recommend that if that's something that you're interested in. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for coming and being interested enough in this topic to spend, an hour talking about math and talking about how to help families enjoy math together. I think it's a really, really important topic and something that can make a big difference. So thank you. Should I stop my share?
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Yes, if you can stop sharing, I will pull my slides back up. And I just want to share a big thanks. I'm sure you can see all the reactions. What a lovely keynote, wonderful information and resources you shared. So thank you so much for sharing all that information with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you to the Early Math Project for taking this on. And, kudos to you. So it was a real pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so everyone, we are moving now, this portion of our evening, we're moving into a break, a short break, and then we'll head to our breakout session. So if you haven't already, please select your breakout session. You'll take a short break and then you'll join your session after that. They begin at 7:10. So you'll leave this room, go back to the lobby and pick from those available sessions to join. Just as a reminder, those breakout sessions will be recorded and available for later viewing. So you can always check out any of the sessions that you had to miss. Okay, and then we will see you back here for closing remarks after your breakout. Thanks, everyone.